Welcome to 10 Minute Murder, brief and bingeable true crime. I'm Joe, the host, and thank you for joining today. All right, so the next few episodes of the podcast will not be hosted by me. I'm going to be away on a work-related trip, and as I started to prepare episodes in advance, I thought, wouldn't it be a lot cooler if I reached out to a few true crime podcast creators that I personally listen to and see if they're interested in doing an episode for 10 Minute Murder. Now, I understand that trying to cram a whole murder case with information into 10 minutes is nearly impossible. So I didn't ask them to do that. Just simply make an episode about any case at any length. And again, by the way, these episodes, the next few of them are by creators that I regularly listen to. And yes, I did practice saying regularly. It still sounds weird. Anyway, you can find where to subscribe and connect with them in the show notes of this episode. The one today is from Katie and Liz of True Crime New England.
Hi, I'm Liz Corey.
And I'm Katie King.
And we're from the podcast True Crime New England.
Huge thank you to Joe for reaching out to us and asking us to guest host an episode. We're so excited.
And we're so thankful. For those of you who are not familiar with our podcast, we cover cases across all 6 states of New England. Supposedly the 6 safest states in America.
Our episodes and the cases we cover say otherwise.
We cover crime cases anywhere from murder to abductions, suspicious deaths. We have a plane crash in there. Honestly, we cover it all.
We also consider ourselves a true crime comedy podcast because Liz and I both use humor as a coping mechanism, and we also drop the occasional F-bomb.
But don't worry, every time we drop an F-bomb, we donate $1 to a charity.
Joe said that we could pick any case we wanted for this guest host episode, and we decided to cover the Mont Vernon Thrill Killings out of Mont Vernon, New Hampshire. It's one of the episodes we already covered, and we thought it would be a good fit for this podcast.
That's right. We went through every episode and we said, what would 10 Minute Murder fans like? And we landed on this one.
We decided we're going to keep it brief and bingeable for you guys, just like this podcast does. So let's get into it.
All right.
On October 4th, 2009, a police officer in Mont Vernon, New Hampshire was sent to a home after a 911 call was made about a suspected robbery or a break-in. The officer arrived on scene and broke down the door, and he found 11-year-old Jaimie Cates with multiple severe stab wounds. She looked up at the officer and told him, "They killed my mommy." Jaimie had survived by playing dead, but she had barely survived. 42-year-old Kimberly Cates was found upstairs in the master bedroom with 32 stab and slash wounds that were later determined to have been the result of a knife and a machete.
That same evening, October 4th, a woman named Carol Fenton called the Mont Vernon Police Department and told them that her teenage son, Kyle, had come to her and said that he had something he wanted to tell the police. Something important. And what Kyle told them was that 2 of his friends had stopped by his house earlier that day, and when they arrived, they informed with Kyle that they had broken into a home and killed 2 people. Not only did they share this story, but they also said that they stole some things, as well as showed Kyle the 2 knives that they had used, and also showed the machete that they had used as well. Kyle identified these friends as Christopher Gribble and Steven Spader. The investigators were so shocked because they recognized those names. Turns out that very same morning, the police had pulled over a suspicious-looking vehicle that had sped away as soon as the police came into their view. This was suspicious because it was immediately after the murders. When the police got up to the window to see who it was, In the car was 19-year-old Christopher Gribble and 17-year-old Steven Spader. They questioned them, nothing seemed suspicious, and the police ended up letting them go.
Steven Spader and Christopher Gribble were leaders of a club they made called the Disciples of Destruction. They had decided to recruit members of the club by having them go through a home invasion as the initiation to get into the club. The two recruits were Quinn Glover and William Marks. Even though all four boys broke into the home and even cut the power beforehand, it was Christopher and Steven who committed the brutal attacks and murder, and they were the masterminds behind the plan.
On Tuesday, October 6th, just 2 days after the murders, the four boys were arraigned at the Milford District Court. Spader and Gribble were charged with first-degree murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. Steven Spader was convicted on all counts on his 19th birthday. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole plus 76 years. Gribble pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, and this forfeited his criminal trial due to this being a New Hampshire law. The jury deliberated for 2 hours, rejecting that plea of insanity. He was found guilty of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, plus 50 years to life, and an additional 52 years for other charges.
Another boy named Autumn Savoy came forward to police during the investigation and admitted to having provided a false alibi for the boys, and he had helped them dispose of bloody clothing in the river. The other 3 boys were charged for various crimes. During trial, it was noted that Steven and Christopher showed no remorse for their actions and even bragged about what they did. At one point, Christopher took the stand and told the courtroom that the room after the stabbing looked like something out of CSI. Jaimie, despite having months in the hospital recovering from severe wounds, made a miraculous recovery and went on to help her dad start the Kimberly Cates Memorial Fund, which has given out more than $250,000 in scholarships to students who continue Kimberly Cates' legacy.
So, in short, that's a very condensed version of the Mont Vernon Thrill Killing. We definitely recommend checking out our actual podcast to hear the full episode, which includes a lot of gruesome details about the attack, which starts from how the boys entered the home, to attacking Jaimie Cates, the survivor, to the aftermath of the rumors and the gossip swirling around the high school saying these 2 kids murdered someone.
If you want to hear more about the Mont Vernon Thrill Killing, as well as other cases based out of New England, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at TrueCrimeNE, and on our website at truecrimene.com. You can also, of course, find us wherever you like to listen.
We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Stitcher, we're on Pocket Cast. Truly, wherever you like to listen, come hang out with us.
Again, thank you so much to Joe for reaching out to us and having us guest host an episode. We love your podcast, and we are so thankful that you trusted us to do an episode for you.
Well, guys, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed our telling of the Mont Vernon Thrill Killing.